My husband and I moved to Ghana just over 22 years ago
Beat
for
me.
an adventure. There were no roads. I remember hating having to leave my house.
Right.
And then if I forget something, going back because the roads were just so horrible.
Right.
Thankfully, all of that has changed. But much of the development and growth that has happened over the 20-something years, to be honest, it has blown us away. One consultancy I had took me to the rainforest of Ghana, and we went in pickups with my client, but the pickup broke down in the middle of nowhere, bush. And
did you cry?
No, I didn't even panic because
I would cry.
because to me, I thought, wow, this will be interesting. How are we going to get out of this? And we were in the middle of the rainforest. A lot of people don't even know Ghana has a rainforest.
Hi guys, welcome back. So today I have a lovely guest with me. I have today Karen Hendrickson.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, Dela.
Hi, I'm so excited to interview you today. I saw you sent me something of yourself and I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is so accomplished. Oh, I don't know what I'm getting myself in for. You've done many amazing things which I absolutely love, which we're going to talk about on camera. And I can't wait.
Okay, ask away. I'm
Okay.
delighted to be here. Thank you for asking me to be a part of this wonderful podcast. And I'm truly delighted and humbled.
Oh, thank you so much. So let me first off start by asking you, are you Ghanaian?
No, I'm actually Bermudian, but I was born in Jamaica. So you can say I have dual nationality, and grew up in Bermuda. And so I'm Bermudian British, if you will.
Right.
Because we're still a British colony.
Right,
Yes.
I see. Okay, so how come you're in Ghana?
Well, my husband and I moved to Ghana just over 22 years ago
You beat
for
me.
an adventure. For
Not
an
many people do.
adventure. Yes, we were both working and living in Bermuda, and we wanted an adventure. We wanted to live in a place in Africa where we could get immersed in the culture and the
Right.
life. Yes, yes.
Okay, but why Ghana specifically? Because you could have gone to anywhere in Africa.
Absolutely. In fact, we spent 2 years researching.
Oh, you did?
And we did our research by traveling. So we visited about 15 countries, checking, would we like to live here? Everywhere from South Africa to Zimbabwe, Nigeria, etc. But in the end, for Ghana, in a way, it felt like coming home. Having had some of my formative years growing up in Jamaica.
Yeah.
When I touched down here and the food, the people, the environment, it just reminded me of my childhood in Jamaica.
Right.
And my husband also loved it because it was close to his homeland, Nigeria. And so things were familiar, but at the same time, it was an adventure.
Right.
So it was something new for both of us. So Ghana won out after all the evaluations.
Wow.
Plus, we could see where Ghana was going.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be part of that wave of development. Yes.
Okay. So why didn't you move to Jamaica though?
Because Jamaica, I was familiar with. We wanted a place where none of us had any ties.
Right.
So I was familiar with Jamaica. He was familiar with Nigeria. And hence, they were disqualified.
Okay, I get it. That makes sense. You were after the adventure. So you came 23 years ago.
Yes.
Now, I came 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago now. And I know what Ghana was like 10 years ago. So I cannot even process 23 years ago what Ghana was like. Maybe give us a little bit of insight into the realities of what it was like to move here back then compared to now.
Oh, wow. It was like night and day. For instance, in East Legon, where we live right now, it was mostly bush and tiny little villages scattered around. There were no high-rises, very few businesses. Everything you needed, you had to go to Osu. And there were no roads. I remember hating having to leave my house.
Right.
And then if I forget something, going back because the roads were just so horrible.
Right.
Thankfully, all of that has changed. But much of the development and growth that has happened over the 20-something years, to be honest, it has blown us away. Like when we sit back and think, let me give you an example that people probably have forgotten. Back in those days, the only place that had fast internet was at a place called Busy Internet. And the best time to go there was at midnight when there were less people there. So we used to leave East Legon to go all the way to Busy Internet, still find a small queue where we could sit down for an hour and quickly do our emails or our banking or whatever, because there was like nothing else. It was still dial up if you were lucky enough.
Did you say midnight?
Midnight, yes. And we were regulars there at midnight.
What?
Because it was faster then and it was less of a lineup. During the day, it was crazy.
What?
Now we have internet on our phones, in our homes,
Right.
and we just take it for granted.
Yeah.
But that is a huge change.
That's massive, because I remember I had my own experience when I came here all those years ago, and I was just like, I can't get internet. Like, what's happening here? And it's so expensive, even when you
Yes,
could get it.
exactly.
And so I cannot imagine
we
what you went through.
It was crazy. And even and don't even talk about phone calls back to the US.
Really?
It was just incredible.
Really?
Yes. So the things people take for granted now,
Yeah.
we had to come through those growing pains. But it's nice to look back and see how far we've come.
Yeah.
I've got broadband in the house that allows me to stream at rates that are faster than in some parts of the US. So that's a huge improvement
It
from
absolutely
having
is.
to leave home.
Right? No more leaving home at midnight.
Exactly. Yes.
That's so good. Because I remember when I was here, like I had so many very difficult experience trying to adjust to things. So I cannot remember, I can't imagine what it has been like for you to sort of go through that process. But I would also say that even though those times were difficult, I think that being here during then and being able to kind of be part of the development of Ghana has put you in some really good positions.
Absolutely. And you know what? It makes you appreciate every advancement. And we wanted to be part of something that was growing and developing.
Right.
Honestly, we knew it was going to happen, but we didn't think it was going to be so fast.
Right.
We thought maybe 25, 30 years. So the progression was within, I'd say, 5 to 10 years. It really sped up. But it's been wonderful to be part of it. And it gives you a great understanding and appreciation of the importance of something as simple as roads, communication channels, and also being part of a community. Because in those days when you didn't have a lot of things, it's your neighbors that you depended on to guide you. Where do you go for this? Or how do you do this, etc. So like all the neighbors on my street, we know each other very well, especially since many of them have come after we've been there, because when on my street, there were only 3 houses. And now there's only 1 vacant lot. Everything else has now been built up. So it's been an interesting journey.
Wow. So did you buy your house when you came?
Yes, we did. And I always have to credit my husband, because I was not keen on buying before we'd lived here for a while. I said, let's just rent, get to know where we are, etc. And he was like, nope, when I come again, I want us to buy a house, and this is the area I wanted to be in. And after much searching, 2 weeks of seeing things that I just could not sign off on. On the last day, we found the house that we're in. We met the owner, and we were able to conclude after a couple of weeks, once we could prove that he actually owned the house with the help of our lawyers. But yes, so we did buy. And at that time, things were very affordable.
That's the next line of questioning that I wanted to ask you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Was very, very affordable. The same house now would be at least 5 or 10 times more You know, that's how much, because at that time, East Legon was considered bush.
Yes, I
Bush.
know it was.
Friends
Yes.
wouldn't even come
Yeah,
here
yeah.
because they didn't go to the bush.
Yes.
You know, my Ghanaian friends.
Yeah.
So
Living in
now
the
who's
bushes.
having the last laugh?
Right, exactly. I love that because I keep trying to tell people all the time that sometimes when you buy a property, don't look at the road and things like that, because you know what? The house that you think, oh, I can afford it, but I don't want to live there because the road is not done. Just wait till that road drops. You probably may not even afford that house anymore because the appreciation of the whole area goes all the way up. And that's just a prime example, as you said.
And I remember when we came, we had a very good friend who we advised him to buy in East Legon. At that time, a good sized plot, say 100 by 100, was going for about $25,000.
Peanuts.
And all of his people told him, no, that's bush, whatever.
No.
And he listened to them.
No.
And about 3 years ago, he tried to buy. And he was getting, for no house on it.
Yeah.
He was getting quotes as high as 300,000 US dollars. And they're now 70 by 70.
Look at that.
And he just kicks himself. He says, I wish I would have listened to you guys.
Right.
But hey, you know.
That's a very good lesson to learn, because you know what? You should never listen to people that are not on the ground.
Absolutely.
Because honestly, they'll throw you off. Because I feel like there's always something negative you can say about any situation.
Anything and anywhere.
Yes, there's always going to be something. Let's look for the positive.
That's right.
And I think that's what you need to search for.
Absolutely. And, you know, it didn't just happen in East Legon. It happened throughout Accra and beyond. Another area, for instance, where we had... we used to go to a lot was Dodowa. And between Adenta, Old Barrier, and where we would go would be nothing. And I used to always think, what happens if we get a flat?
Right.
Because the roads weren't the best.
Yeah.
What happens if we get... Because there was nothing around but bush.
Yeah.
You drive on that same road today, and your mind is just blown at the development that has happened. And thankfully, back then, we bought. Even though I looked at my husband's side eye, like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But he had the vision. And yes, I mean, so the development has been almost unbelievable.
Wow.
So, and I'm glad that I sound like an old person.
No.
But I'm glad
I love
able to experience it firsthand. And when people come from overseas and they're looking to do certain things and they're worried about infrastructure and all of that, I tell them, look, if people were worried about that, everybody would still be living in probably 5 square miles in the center of Accra.
Yeah.
But people, private individuals have built estates, homes, etc. And eventually... the roads and the street lights will come. Yeah. For us, it took about, I think, 18 years before they did our road. Wow. 18 years. Yeah.
You stuck it out. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me, it can't have always been easy to be here. Like, okay, so for example, financially, how did you support yourself being here? Okay,
great question. When we initially came, we decided to do 2 things. We set up a retail business and a consulting business. The retail business, believe it or not, was an ice cream business.
Really?
And it was called The Scoop. And the reason we wanted to do retail because it gives you an understanding of the culture, the people, the work ethic on a much more intimate level than on a corporate consulting level.
Right.
And you get a wider audience. And we did that for a number of years. What eventually made us stop, because the electricity situation got so bad. And we were making our own ice cream.
Oh, from scratch.
Yes. And in those days, when they had that really bad bout, the power could go for 24 hours.
24 hours off, 12 hours on.
Exactly.
Yes, I remember.
And then when it would come back with such force that it could blow everything.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to us. I had a piece of equipment, $50,000, that both compressors in the ice cream making machine went. So we had to make some tough decisions. And of course, there's nobody you can go to.
There's no,
You
you ain't
can't
complaining.
claim our
Complain to
insurance
yourself.
policy doesn't cover that.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision because we were right in one of the worst electricity crises in Ghana.
Yeah.
And I decided, no, we can't, because I could get a brand new machine
And it happens
and it could
again.
happen again. And so we reluctantly closed the scoop. And at that time, it was the only American ice cream that was lactose and cholesterol free. And we had amazing flavors like Guinness flavored,
Really?
blueberry. So many
So
wonderful
you didn't think about bringing it
creations.
back?
No, my husband brings it up all the time, but that time has passed.
Yeah.
Since
I
then,
understand.
I've moved on, and then we did consulting for international businesses that wanted to do business in Ghana, and individuals as well. And then somewhere along the line, I was headhunted for a number of major companies in Ghana. My most recent being the CEO of Rabito Clinic. And so I transitioned through these headhunting into corporate Ghana.
Right.
But the experience I had from the retail as well as the connections, I mean, it is amazing some of the connections we did in that business, primarily because our secret sauce was not the ice cream. It was the excellent customer service.
Right.
And at that time, it was unheard of in
Yeah.
Ghana.
Yep.
Unheard of.
I know.
To welcome somebody, be able to explain what you do coherently and succinctly, and treat people with respect. Oh my gosh. People would say, where are you finding these people? But I learned that prior to me coming, there were times in Ghana where people had to queue for everything.
Yeah.
And because of that, people would just, the shop owners would treat them anyhow.
Yeah.
Hey, it's bread, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Because there was a line behind you. So customer service was not even discussed or expected.
Yeah, I had a glimpse.
And here we came along, and with intense training and mentoring and firing and rehiring and training. We had a team that I was so proud of. I didn't have to be there. It was the talk of the town. People would come just to see if what they heard about this. Yes, and that was our secret hot sauce. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I'm very proud of that. Of all the things I've done here, the scoop really resonates with me. But along the way, of course, there were challenges. It wasn't always rosy. But what I always told myself, A, I wanted an adventure.
Yeah.
And B, there is no country that is perfect.
Absolutely.
I'm from Bermuda. I was born in Jamaica, but grew up in Bermuda. And both have their challenges. So, but I would say, okay, we had prepared for what we thought would be the worst, which was electricity, particularly at the house. So we had generators. But I remember one night, I can laugh about it now. I was playing Scrabble with a dear friend of mine into the wee hours of the morning at home. And the lights went out. And it must have gone out earlier. And then they put on the generator.
Yeah.
But it had been running for a while. And then next thing, I heard a massive explosion, like about 3 hours later. And we were sitting there in the darkness, and we found our way outside. We later found out the security guard had tried to fill up a gas generator while it was still running, and it was hot. And he wasn't hurt, thankfully, but that exploded, but it created a fire.
No.
So no electricity, can't get access to the hose or whatever. You know what we had to do? This is my friend's idea. She said, Karen, didn't you water today? I have a massive garden.
Yeah.
I said, yes, I did. She says, well, let's break the flower pots. The water is damp. And that's what we used to put out the fire.
No.
Can you imagine? And we were just scooping, and that's how we put out the fire of the generator. Lit some candles and continued to play Scrabble.
No! Oh my gosh, you just moved on. We're like, okay, it happened.
Yes,
let's get back to it.
Yes, and we played for another couple of hours. By the time we finished playing Scrabble, it was about 3 a.m. But, that was one of the things we did for fun and entertainment. But that experience, I mean, it could have been worse, and but he wasn't hurt.
Yeah.
He, but it was also a silly thing to do, to try and, but we
Yeah.
laugh now, and thankfully she remembered that, because the fire could have spread, and
Yeah,
who knows
yeah,
what
of
could have
course.
happened. And and interestingly enough, there were so few people on my street. Nobody heard the explosion.
Really?
Yep, nobody
Oh
heard
my
it.
gosh.
So
Wow. But that's a really good example of sometimes how you have to look at things when you come to Ghana, because I find that lots of people come here and they get frustrated about things.
Yes.
And that's what drives a lot of them to go home
Exactly.
eventually, because they can't withstand that.
Exactly. And that's the thing. If you look at it as an adventure,
Yeah.
as a way to build character,
Right.
to have stories, funny stories to tell,
Yeah.
and to develop resilience, everything from cars breaking down. One consultancy I had took me to the rainforest of Ghana, and we went in pickups with my client, but the pickup broke down in the middle of nowhere, bush. And
did you cry?
No, I didn't even panic, because
I would cry.
because to me, I thought, wow, this it'd be interesting. So how are we going to get out of this?
Right.
But the driver was panicked.
Oh, he was?
And yes, he was panicked because he's a city guy. There's a lot of Ghanaians who've never really been to the country, let alone to the bush. And we were in the middle of the rainforest. A lot of people don't even know Ghana has a rainforest. And so what we did, I said, let's just scream out help in the local language, help.
Yeah.
Because I'd been in Ghana long enough to know the bush is just a back tapestry for a lot of activity that goes on within farming, trapping, hunting. And when we did that, about 15 men came out of the forest with their boots on and their machetes, and they saw where, we were like in a ditch, and they literally lifted that pickup out and put us on the road, all of them together. It was the most beautiful sight. And, the driver was like, how did you know to do that?
Yeah.
I said, but this canopy, there's stuff going on inside.
Right.
It's not just barren.
Right.
And that's exactly what it was. And when we finally got to where we couldn't go any further with the pickup, we had to literally get out and walk. And then at that point, a tracker and a hunter walked in between the four of us. And the hunter, the guy with the machete cuts the path.
Right.
The hunter keeps a lookout for wild animals. This is all in Ghana. How exciting is that?
I ain't doing it. No,
it was fun. It was fun. They told me before I went, don't wear perfume. You can wear a bug spray, but make sure you have on long sleeves.
Right.
Have your rain boots put inside. So, and I was with people who had collectively hundreds of years of experience. And that's how I kind of look at things. I am rarely, in fact, have I ever been frightened in Ghana? Maybe on the roads with the drivers.
Right.
It's still hard for me to get used to some of the craziness on the roads. But apart from that, no. I've been to places like Inzulezu, the village on stilts.
Yeah.
But people don't tell you the canoe ride there is almost 2 hours.
Is it that long?
Yes.
I didn't know it was that long.
And you're in a very little boat. But that was fascinating and so exhilarating. Wow. And when you finally get there, you're like blown away that for literally centuries people have lived there. Wow. So if you let the small things bother you, or even the big things, to me, as long as you have your health and your strength, then everything else is an adventure, even though sometimes at the time it can be frustrating. Yeah. It can be frustrating. I remember once sitting in the car minding my own business, and a trotro slammed into the back of our car. Oh, no. And then the guy jumped out, and was adamant it wasn't his fault.
I knew it. I just knew you were going to say that. I knew it. It's your fault.
Yeah. And I was like, anyway, at the time I was really frustrated. I was vexed. But we were close to a police station. And I was like, you know what? We don't have to argue this.
Yeah.
Let me go to the police. Let's go to the police station. They sorted it out. Of course, they didn't want that.
I was like, no.
But yes, and I was just so flabbergasted. Even days later, how can I sitting in a parking bay? How can it be my fault? I wasn't even behind the driver's seat. I was like actually waiting for the driver to come back.
Oh.
But that's anyway. In the end, he paid.
Yeah, right. Oh
Yes,
my gosh,
yes.
those are like nightmare experiences for people because do you know it's not even the act of what's happened; it's the frustration of dealing with all the other challenges that come with it. Like, how do you get your money back? It's going to drip feed the money to you. You now have to get your car towed potentially. Oh my gosh.
Yes, it can get frustrating. It can. But look, life is not perfect anywhere.
Yeah.
And if your reason for being in Ghana is for a new experience, like for me, I don't know about you, Dele, but I wanted to be in an environment where everywhere I looked, people looked like me.
Yeah.
I saw black people at all levels. I didn't want to feel like a minority in my own country, so to speak. And for me, being around people of color at every walk of life in Ghana means a lot to me. And yes, some can be pain in the necks, some are fabulous. You meet all types. But for me, that's why I'm here.
Right.
And I also want to give back and live a life of purpose.
Yeah.
So yes, the challenges, yes, and there are many that happen. But in the scheme of life, it's not really a big deal.
It's not when you put perspective on it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So I first met you at the She Boss event.
Yes.
And I overheard that you were doing some type of flight service.
Yes.
Tell me about that. That really piqued my interest. I was like, what? What's she talking about?
Yes. Okay. Malaika Air is the name of the airline. And we are in the process, we're a startup, effectively. We are in the process of launching that airline. And the reason we decided to do this is it is so painful trying to fly to the Caribbean in a short period of time. I still have brothers and sisters and cousins in Jamaica. If I want to go there, I have to go through the U.S. And for me, it's even easy because I don't need a visa to the U.S. But it still takes like 2 days. Now, 2 days. Now, imagine let's say you're carrying a Ghanaian passport.
Yeah.
So the only way you can get to the Caribbean by plane, you have to get a transit visa, either through the U.S., the U.K., or somewhere in Europe. That means going to the embassy, standing in line, putting up with people who have attitude, thinking that who are you to think you should travel?
Yeah.
And this is what I hear from my friends who have to go through. And then you have a higher chance of being declined, where you've wasted that money, never to get it back.
Yeah.
And then if you are resilient, you have to start again. If not, you give up.
Right.
And so my husband and I said, why is there not an airline, a scheduled airline that goes every week or every 2 days to the Caribbean?
Yeah.
No one was doing it. So Africa and the Caribbean could not connect. And we know from history that 99 and probably 3/4 of the Caribbean inhabitants came from Africa. So that started the 5-year journey of putting together an airline. It's so much work involved, but it's a passion project, and because of that, the 5 years, doing the analysis, the business plan, all of that, then looking for investors.
Yes.
So that's where we are now in the final stage. We have everything together. We are entertaining bids from about 4 investors, and some investors, they smell blood in the water, so to speak. So their terms are not really the best, and others understand what we're trying to do and want to make it easy to pay back or whatever. So what we have to evaluate everything. But when that dust settles, our first flight will probably be in the end of the first quarter of this year, or the end of the beginning of the second quarter. And we will fly from Ghana to Barbados direct.
Wow. How
7 hours.
7 hours. That's
7 hours.
beautiful.
Can you imagine? We're going to be using a Dreamliner, which is a really big plane.
So would you say there's still time for people who want to move from abroad and move to Ghana to be able to actually make it here, business-wise and everything?
Absolutely. Ghana is awash with opportunities, from manufacturing to mining to services. So there are lots of opportunities, but one has to do their homework and not think just throwing money at a particular business will make it successful.
Right, yes, I love that. That's a great answer. So I'm sure after people watch this interview, they'll be like, I need to follow that lady. Where can I find her? Where can they find you?
Visual Orator on Instagram, or Karen Hendrickson. Karen Hendrickson on either LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or the Visual Orator. And I'd love for them to follow me and watch the exciting adventure I continue to live.
I love that. Yes, I mean, I'm going to be watching you closely because I'm waiting for that airline to start, because I'm going to get myself a seat on there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I'm going to follow you very, very closely, because I think you're going to be doing more amazing things to come.
Yes.
So thank you so much for coming on today. I feel like you've given us some really good stories and some really good things to think about it. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Lovely.
I'm delighted that I was able to have this with you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, that is the end of today's video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please don't forget, as I said, to go and have a look at Karen's socials, follow her. Don't forget, if you haven't also subscribed to this channel, make sure you do that. So please, if you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment, and share this video. Until next time, we are out. Nutitfafa.